To address a bent pivot, if you have a lathe, it's very helpful to determine how bent it is, and just hand spin it. This one, as you see, is quite bent. And I use a staking tool to gently apply pressure in the direction I want to straighten the pivot itself. And you don't have to use a lot of pressure, just work slowly, and eventually it'll get quite straight. So after the pivot are straightened, it's back to the ultrasonic, and just looking at this plate, and it is quite tarnished. And nothing I can do by hand will fix it. So let's see what the ultrasonic does. The parts have been dried, and as far as I can see, they're somewhat plainer after being in the ultrasonic. And just checking now for any moisture that I might see on any of the wheels, particularly the lantern pinions. This clock, the lantern pinions are in excellent condition. This is the escape wheel. Everything looks good. Now, from what I can see, there is a significant amount of tarnish, and I'm going to try and see whether I can take any of it off with Brasso. And I'm going to try one small corner here and see what effect, if any, the Brasso has. And what I'm noticing almost immediately is that the tarnishing seems to be embedded into the brass. And so I'm just wondering whether it's worth it to polish any further. Okay, off camera I put the wheels to the strike side in, just to check to see if there is any pivot wear. And actually I'm not seeing anything. So let's just take it apart again. And leave it. Looking at the time side, not seeing a lot of wear. In fact, very little wear. Main wheel at the bottom. I can see just a little bit of wear right there. Otherwise, everything looks pretty good. It looks good. So that's the one that we will address. That's only one bushing of stress from the just mark that. Next, I'm going to put the wheels back on the barrels, and as you can see, they clip into place. But I have to use my gloves for this. This is, to me, this is not a very good design. I mean, I much prefer either open springs or completely encased in a barrel with a cap. These are not good. Here I am just trying to use my gloves to twist as best I could, and I'm using all my might to twist the wheels into the barrels themselves. So, and I can get it on, but they need to be tightened, so I'll do that off camera. Next is polishing the pivots. If you have a lathe, then I recommend the slowest speed. And these emery boards are great for polishing pivots. Just work emery board up and down. And it should be up. And we'll clean it off. And then we'll do the rest of it. So the next part is pegging the movement. I actually pegged the movement several times. So this generally takes about 20 minutes to do all the pegging. And then following the pegging, then it's on to any bushing work that has to be done. And in this case, a bushing is required in the center or the second wheel or power wheel. You can see it's quite sloppy. That's actually the only bushing required on the clock movement. So I've got a centering bit, and the purpose of the centering bit is to center the hole in preparation for drilling. And secure that in place. And then move the plate around to ensure that the centering bit is well into the hole. Once I know that it is, then I'll tighten up the clamps on either side, and that should stay in place during the drilling. So let's take the centering bit off. Let's measure the pivot, and I'm seeing 1.5 millimeters. And there it is right here, 1.5 millimeters with an outside diameter of 3.5 millimeters. So knowing the outside diameter, it means that I can drill to 3.47 millimeters. So I generally use the smallest bit just to begin enlarging the hole, and then move on from one bit to the next up to the 3.47 millimeter bit. This is the 1.97. A press bit. If done properly, it's quite strong. And finishing up with a chamfering bit. So I'll chamfer the hole just to make the bushing go in a little easier. All it takes is 1 or 2 revolutions, 1 or 2 turns, and then the hole is ready for the bushing. And since I'm working on the inside of the plate, then the oil cup is pointing downwards. So we'll put a bit in, a hammer bit in. And we'll give it about 4 whacks of the hammer. And that's it. Take it out of the bushing machine, unscrew the clamps, and there's the new bushing right there. Okay, as I said, only 1 bushing was required here. Okay, so I'm clipping the center cannon wheel, and then that second wheel will go in after that. Oh, it's hiding. So in she goes. And we'll just turn it around to work at putting the other wheels in. Time side first. And then the strike side wheels. Is that in the right place? Not sure. Let's just get all the others together and we'll determine whether that's correct. Unfortunately, I ran out of battery power in putting the plates together. However, I can explain exactly what I did. First of all, I worked on getting all the wheels in position on the front plate, and this is the plate that I removed. So once I have all the wheels in position, then I drop this or put this front plate on, and then I locate the mainspring arbors. Then these 2 wheels, this one right here and this center cannon wheel. And then I attached these screws. Once those screws are attached and these wheels are in position, and I know that these are mainsprings are also in position, and I work on the time side up here, and I get the this wheel and the escape wheel in position. Then I attach this nut. Okay. Now throughout all this process, this is off. Okay. Then I work at positioning the wheels on this side. So I start with the third wheel here, and then the star wheel, working my way up to the stop wheel over here, and then finally to the fly. And then once I do that, then I put this nut in, and then check all the wheels are in position, and then tighten all these 4 nuts. Now during this whole thing, I use this, and this is what's called a pivot locator. And what happens is that when you are pushing pivots into position, you don't move the arbors, you actually push the top of the pivot into its respective pivot hole. And this really goes a long way toward preventing bent pivots. This is a really good tool. And it's quite long, so you can reach well into a movement to position the pivots. For the front of the movement, the stop lever goes on first, and this lever. Okay, next is the rack. Always ensure that this gathering pallet is clear of the teeth when you assemble it. And then the snail, the hour wheel down here, then the snail, and then this washer to prevent the hour wheel from coming off. And what I do is I try to position the rack contact point right about in the middle or so. And then there's a spring that has to be attached here. These two levers attach by means of washers right here and right up here. Also the hammer arbor has to be installed as well, and of course the hammer onto this, and of course hitting the striking rods. And then following the front, then what I do is I install the cock here, and then the pallet is installed, or verge is installed as well. And then I attach the suspension spring right here, and then the leader, and of course the pendulum is hooked down here. And that's pretty much it. A couple of strange things: clips for the spring barrels. And I mentioned this before. This is a terrible idea. These mainsprings that clip into the barrel. Really don't like that. And those springs are very powerful. All in all, not a hard movement to work on. There's the new bushing right there. It's the only one that I installed. Anyway, we'll put this guy